Support pours in for Times Network reporter Dev Kotak after he was assaulted while covering the CJP protests in Delhi. CJP spokesperson Saurav Das has publicly condemned the incident and also appealed for peace and calm.
Protests continue in the capital as supporters of the Cockroach Janata Party join the sit-in at Jantar Mantar. CJP founder Abhijit Dipke has urged Wangchuk to end his fast. Meanwhile, hearing a plea on police action against students, Supreme Court Chief Justice Surya Kant declined to examine the videos, saying that the court's time should not be wasted.
Sonam Wangchuk sets conditions to end his fast. The activist says he will call off his hunger strike over the NEET paper leak issue only after the centre assures him that protesters who participated in the CJP's march will not face any punitive legal action.
Disappointing week so far on Dalal Street with benchmarks closing lower for third trading session in a row. Nifty ends below the sentimental 24,000 mark, down about 190 points. Realty, banks and pharma emerge as sectoral losers. Meanwhile, FMCG and auto stocks buck the bearish trend. Broader markets snap two-session winning run.
Nestle India gains after delivering a strong June quarter, beating estimates across revenue, profit and margins. Meanwhile, Eternal steadies after a dip on the back of an inline quarter where food delivery outperformed.
Dr Reddy's reports weak set of earnings for the first quarter. PAT drops nearly 70% on the back of provisions related to semaglutide API inventory issue and lower lenalidomide sales in North America. Missing street expectations reacting to Trump's tariffs. CEO Erez Israeli says not sustainable or practical to move production sites to the US in 2-year time frame.
And External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar meets U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio along the sidelines of the Quad Foreign Ministers meeting in Manila in Philippines. The two leaders hold discussions on trade, tariffs, energy, defense, critical minerals, AI, and also reaffirm the Quad's commitment to the Indo-Pacific security arrangement.
Welcome to Business at 9. I'm Shubhani Kharat, and joining us in our Mumbai studio is my colleague Jude Sanit. And of course, the earnings season is in full swing going on right now, Jude. Now, first up, Dr. Reddy's reports lackluster set of earnings for the first quarter of FY27. Revenue fell by over 5% year-on-year to 8,770.5 crore, while PAT saw nearly 70% fall due to a one-time charge related to semaglutide API inventory issue and lower lenalidomide sales in North America. Reacting to the earnings, the pharma major said the quarter marked a transition beyond lenalidomide with the base business showing healthy growth. Now, hours after Trump announced the steep tariff on generic pharma imports, Dr. Reddy's CEO Erez Israeli commented on the development that moving manufacturing facilities to the United States within 2 years' time is neither sustainable nor practical. He expressed hope that the industry bodies will address the tariff issue. He also spoke on the impact of semaglutide supply disruption and why there is more pain ahead. Listen into this conversation with ET Now's Meryl D'Souza.
We just got the news today. Obviously, we understand that this is the beginning of the process. Today it was a tweet, and naturally there will be additional discussion as we speak. Both the Indian Association as well as the American Association will speak with the relevant people to understand what they want to do and what they want to achieve. We've been in that process exactly the same time last year, which resulted in exemption for the tariff. So I don't know how the outcome will be. Naturally, we'll engage in discussion. It's not practical to move all the production of India, United States. It's not relevant, not achievable. So it's about probably to take the right measures as they come. So we will obviously be engaged in the discussion. At this point, I don't see any further actions beyond that.
Okay, sir, understood. A little bit more on that. North America revenue does contribute up to 27% of your revenue mix, and it is a large chunk of which is generics-led, which this tariff structure seems designed to hit you disproportionately versus your branded and innovation franchises. Can you just give us a sense of how exposed is Dr. Reddy's US generics portfolio to this?
First of all, at the moment, there is no risk. Even in according to as we speak, there is zero tariff on generics. And even in accordance to the tweet, it's not going to happen in the next 2 years. So at the moment, there is no risk. And also, most...
Meanwhile, Eternal, that's the parent company of Zomato and Blinkit, has reported its Q1 earnings. The numbers here were largely in line with street expectations. Net profits came in at about 92 crore rupees, down 47% sequentially, while revenue and EBITDA improved on a quarter-on-quarter basis. Now, EBITDA fell short of the street's expectations. Let's go across to Ashesha for a quick breakdown.
Well, yes, no major surprises from Eternal this time around, and the numbers largely look in line with what we were working with. Now, revenue this time around has come in at about 20,200 crores versus our expectations of about 20,000 crores. So, as I mentioned, no major surprises over here. Margins, meanwhile, have come in at 2.9% versus 2.8%, which is what the company had reported in the fourth quarter of FY26. Now, let's also look at the segment-wise performance, where food delivery revenue has been better than expected at about 13% growth on a quarter-on-quarter basis. Quick commerce revenue has risen by a solid 18%, largely in line with what we were working with. And hyperpure supplies have also risen by 6% on a sequential basis. Now, let's also take a look at what the key comments have come in via the investor letter that they've issued. And first, let's talk about competition, where the management has said that competitive intensity continues to remain high, but it has become much more predictable versus what it was earlier. As far as input cost inflation is concerned, they've said that they are not seeing any major impact of input cost inflation so far. Input costs have risen, but they have not impacted delivery volumes, at least in the first quarter of FY27. Cash balance continues to remain very solid. So at the end of first quarter FY27, cash balance rose by about 316 crores on a sequential basis to come in at about 18,300 crores. So this is another positive. Meanwhile, as far as the seasonality of the impact business is concerned, especially for the going out segment, because of IPL this year, management said that there has been no seasonality impact, and all the growth that the company has reported in the first quarter has been organic without any seasonality impact. So all in all, management commentaries on the positive, especially with respect to cash balance, with respect to segment-wise performance in the quarter gone by. More details, of course, are awaited, but for now, it looks largely in-line set of numbers with solid management commentary and other internals as well.
Let's listen in to let's listen in what they had to say about the quick commerce guidance and average order value.
Over time, we have increased the capex per store in our business, right? And some of these investments are leading to increase in efficiency in the business. It's also a function of increase in average store sizes, etc. So all these investments are clearly lining up in a way where we have now higher visibility on the margins, and we think at this point that we're likely to end at the higher end of the range that we had guided earlier, and hence the communication. The wallet share will increase, right? So we are not saying a customer will spend the same amount of money, right? So there's a distinction between wallet share and AOV, right? So when we say AOV are unlikely to increase despite assortment expansion, I think what we are saying is a lot of assortment that we are adding is also low AOV assortment, right? So there is that element which you have to acknowledge. Also, I think as frequency of consumers go up on a platform, we see that they really start ordering, fewer items in a cart, right? Because it becomes a daily use case. And as customers, we have seen for ourselves that, the order sizes need not be 400, 500 for every order as you become a more frequent customer. So there is therefore a drag on AOV from both these sides where, as frequency goes up, we see the AOV flattening out.
Moving on to news from the central banker next. According to an RBI bulletin, the central bank has sold a net $6.1 billion of foreign currency in the forex market for the month of May, which is a good $2.84 billion lesser than its April sales. My colleague Dr Joshi joins us with more details.
The Reserve Bank of India sold $6.1 billion of foreign currency in the forex market in May. The RBI released data on its intervention in the foreign currency market in the monthly bulletin. This compares with a sale of $8.94 billion in April by the Reserve Bank of India in the currency market. The RBI sold $28.3 billion and purchased $22.2 billion in May. At the same time in May, the rupee touched an all-time low of 96.96 per dollar amid the growing West Asia crisis. The RBI's net outstanding forward dollar USD were at a record $106.6 billion as of end of May. And this compares with $95.3 billion at the end of April. The RBI announced concessional swaps on June 5th to check the volatility in the rupee, and the rupee supporting measures by the RBI, which had included the concessional swaps on the non-resident for FCNRB deposits, helped stabilize the rupee.
Thanks, Anurag, for the details. Now, in a move to boost foreign direct investments, CBDT has amended the Income Tax Rules 2026, removing PAN requirements for Category 1 and 2 alternative investment funds. Kuldeep Singh is here with the details.
Well, the Central Board of Direct Taxes has amended the Income Tax Rules 2026, and with that amendment, it expanded the definition of specified funds. The CBDT has amended the Rule 157 of the Income Tax Rules 2026, which provides an exemption from the requirement to obtain or quote a permanent account number in India for certain non-resident investors who invest in specified fund. Well, with this amendment, CBDT has exempted PAN card requirement for non-resident investors investing in Category 1 and Category 2 alternative investment funds regulated by SEBI or IFSC. In fact, the notification that has been released on 21st of July reads that any fund established or incorporated in India in the form of a trust or a company or a limited liability partnership or a body corporate which has been granted a certificate of registration as a Category 1 or Category 2 alternative investment fund and is regulated under SEBI or IFSC Act. So these will be the funds that has been added in this definition of specified funds. And in fact, we must tell the viewers here that Category 1 and Category 2 funds include venture capital funds, private equity funds, and debt funds, etc. In fact, the tax experts said that the amendment preserves the existing compliance relief available to investors in these funds and provides continuity and certainty to global investors.
Moving on to geopolitics next, US President Donald Trump has threatened to bomb bridges and power plants in Iran. In his latest Truth Social post, Trump said, "From this point forward, anytime the Islamic Republic of Iran shoots at a ship in the Strait of Hormuz, whether it be by missile, rocket, drone, or any other device or weapon, the United States will bomb and destroy one bridge or power plant, including those located next to or in the capital city of Tehran," end quote.
Now, moving on, let's take a look at how the Wall Street is faring this Wednesday. U.S. markets are trading mixed with S&P 500 edging up 0.15% as investors weigh a sharp surge in oil prices. The Nasdaq Composite slipped 0.1%, while the Dow Jones Industrial Average gained 0.2%. Meanwhile, crude prices rallied after escalating geopolitical tensions. Brent crude climbed 3% to trade above $93 a barrel, briefly crossing $95, its highest level in more than a month. WTI crude advanced 2% to trade above $86 a barrel.
Meanwhile, India joined its Quad partners in calling for peace and stability in the Indo-Pacific region while reaffirming ASEAN's centrality in the region amid China's increasing military muscle flexing in the South China Sea. Besides Jaishankar, the Quad meeting held in Manila was attended by the US Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Australian Foreign Minister Penny Wong, and her Japanese counterpart Sue Milta. Sue Milta, in fact, gets us more details on this meeting.
That's right. The External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar has held separate talks with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi in Manila. In fact, these meetings covered the safety of Indian seafarers, tariffs, energy security, India-China border tensions, and global developments. External Affairs Minister is in Manila for Quad Foreign Ministers meeting and other meetings that are related to ASEAN grouping. Now, first up, let's talk about the External Affairs Minister's meeting with Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi. He said that relations between India and China have been gradually normalizing. However, he reiterated that peace and tranquility in border areas is obviously the prerequisite for normal ties. He also says that this aspect will continue to need a constant attention. He also brought up the issue related to fair market access, and he brought up issues related to trade balance as well. And that, he said, that really ranks high in that regard. He also presented concerns about the predictability of supply chains. He also had a meeting with the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, where the two sides focused on trade and tariffs, energy, defense and security, alongside critical minerals and artificial intelligence. Now, important to note that all of these aspects are key pillars of the India-U.S. ties, and of course, these aspects have sort of been reiterated in the past couple of meetings between premiers of both the sides. In fact, this meeting happened even as the 10% tariffs that the United States imposed, they are set to expire on July 24th. In fact, the External Affairs Minister also stated in a communication that both sides exchanged quick perspectives on regional, global and multilateral issues of mutual interest. And then the External Affairs Minister also met with the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, wherein he reiterated India's strong concern related to the safety of Indian seafarers in the region. Now, this was raised after 4 Indian nationals were killed in an attack on the commercial vessel MV Golden Leo while it was departing Ukraine's Odessa port on July 19th. And in that regard, in fact, a Russian diplomat was also summoned by the Ministry of External Affairs.
Well, on that note, it is time for us to slip into a very short break. You don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on Business at 9.
Welcome back. You're watching Business at 9 right here on ET Now. Moving on to news from the centre next. Union Minister Prahlad Joshi has outlined the government's vision for a sustainable and energy-secure India at the Times Network Sustainability Conclave. Highlighting India's rapid progress in clean energy, digital growth and innovation, the minister said that renewable energy, battery storage and solar power will play a pivotal role in the country's energy transition over the coming decade. Let's listen in.
Generation Adequacy Plan 2026-27 to 2035-36 published by CEA, Central Electrical Authority, India will have 786 gigawatt of non-fossil fuel capacity by 35-36, accounting to almost 70% of our installed power capacity, that is 1,121. As per the projections, for the first time in the history, solar energy will take over the coal to become the India's single largest source of the installed power capacity, exceeding coal by nearly 200 gigawatt, that is 315 coal and 510 gigawatt of solar. We are all here will agree that such a future demands robust electricity system. That is why India is planning one of the world's most ambitious energy storage program. By 35-36, we should have over 174 gigawatt or 888 gigawatt hour of energy storage capacity and 94 gigawatt of pumped storage products. See, why I am talking this is because nowadays question is arising, what after solar hours? The solar hours के बाद क्या होगा? Solar hours के बाद बैटरी में हम बहुत बड़ी मात्रा में इन्वेस्टमेंट कर रहे हैं, स्टोरेज में हम बहुत बड़ी मात्रा में इन्वेस्टमेंट कर रहे हैं. इसका रिजल्ट आप शॉर्टली आपको देखने के मिल रहा है, क्योंकि उसमें भारत सरकार भी सेंट्रल फाइनेंशियल असिस्टेंस के द्वारा बहुत मदद कर रहे हैं. तो बहुत लोग मुझे ये भी पूछते हैं, इतना बड़ी मात्रा में आप कैपेसिटी एडिशन कर रहे हैं. इंडिया इज द सेकंड highest capacity addition in the last year. We added around 55 gigawatt of the through non-fossil sources. Out of that, 44 is solar, 6.4 or 6.5 it is wind. This wind, if I can tell you, in the entire, it started way back in 1970 and 80 wind. And when we took over, when Prime Minister Shri Modi took over, it was 21 gigawatt, and now it is 57 plus gigawatt, and in a single year, last year, we have added 6 gigawatt. So that will also add to the non-solar hours, that is peak hour power supply will be added advantage if the wind capacity is increased. That is why in a recent Windergy conference, I have a given call where the previous turbines, which were fixed in the very good windy area, that is wind locations, I have asked them to survey it properly and replace all these wind turbines, because at that time it was 30 kilowatts, 40 kilowatts, 25 kilowatts. Those good locations have been now, we want to shift it to the bigger, like 5 megawatt turbines have come now. So what change we can expect in coming days as far as the energy growth is concerned, you can imagine. And very shortly means if that is finally decision is taken, that decision we are studying it, hopefully it will be done, and at that case wind capacity also, it's very considerably it is going to increase. Wind, solar, solar with battery storage, wind with battery storage, and pump